Let us see the classification of the resources. As we discussed that resources are the main things for the economic development, how can we categorize the resources? The resources are again broadly categorized into four major categories. Category 1 is being done on the basis of origin. How is the resource available for all of us? How is it originating? That is a basic consideration for the first division. Second division is the basis for exhaustibility. After how much time does it get exhausted? How many times can we utilize this one? Later, basing on the origin is the third major division. Who is the owner of this one? First one is origin, second one is exhaustibility, third one is ownership. Well, coming to the fourth one, status of the development. What is the status of the development of that particular resource? On these four bases, the resources are being categorized. First one, basis of origin, second one, basis of exhaustibility, third one, basing on the ownership, fourth one, basing on the status. Now moving on to understand further, on the basis of origin, the material of resources are again being divided into biotic and abiotic. Abiotic and biotic. Biotic means which we get naturally available in the nature. The items or the minerals, the resources, whatever you get naturally available in the nature are called as biotic, and most of the biotic things have life in them. That is a special feature of this one. So biotic are the things which have life in them. Example of biotic are flora and fauna, fisheries, and the livestock. All the living animals available in the nature, all the living creatures available in the nature come under the category of biotic. Examples are flora and fauna, fisheries, livestock. Moving to the next category in the same basis of origin, the second one is abiotic. Abiotic is very simple. The complete dead opposite of biotic, where it consists of all the non-living creatures or all non-living things like rocks, metals, etc. So abiotic means it is explicitly dealing with all the non-living things available in the nature. That is called abiotic, rocks and metals. Then moving on to second category of division, that is a basis of exhaustibility. The items, how are they going to get exhausted? Again, it is further redivided into non-renewable sources and renewable sources. Exhaustibility is a nature of a resource which makes the resource to get exhausted. Once the resource is getting exhausted, we cannot use this one. So for further clarification and to understand this one better, again it has been redivided into non-renewable and renewable sources of energy. Non-renewable sources are petrol, coal. These kind of resources, we cannot reframe them. For example, petrol once used is being done. Again we cannot reuse the petrol. In the same way, coal, once it is burned, it turns into ash and we cannot use it again further. So these two comes under the category of non-renewable sources of energy or non-renewable sources of items available for us. When we talk about the renewable sources, in renewable sources you can take solar energy or wind energy as the examples. Renewable means something which can be done again, renew the things, make the things further better, renovate them, reuse them, like that. The solar energy is very vast, you can use it daily. For example, today you use the solar energy, it doesn't get exhausted today itself. Tomorrow again sun will come, tomorrow again you have the source of energy for you. So in this way, solar energy is the best example of renewable sources of energy, and at the same time wind. Wind, when we take, wind is an unending passing of the moving of the air. So air, once it moves, it doesn't get off exhausted. Once it moves, twice it moves, 10 times it moves, 20 times it moves, 100 times it moves, it doesn't get exhausted at any time. That is the specialty of solar wind. Then moving on to the third category of resources, that is ownership. Who is the owner of the particular resource? That depends again into three categories. That is, first one is individual ownership, second one is national, and the third comes under the category of international ownership. First one, when it comes to individual ownership, any private individual who owns a land, who owns a property, who owns a mine, who owns any item or any substance in which the natural resources are found, comes under the category of individual. That is an example of private lands, private properties, private fields. All this comes under the category of individual properties. When it comes to the national one, when it is maintained for the purpose of the public good, it is free for the use of the public, that is called public property. Examples of this one are burial ground, villages, ponds, rivers, lakes, public parks, public municipal offices. All these come under the public properties, where no one can claim that this is my property, this property belongs to me. Only the individual properties can be claimed by any person. But when it comes to the public properties, nothing can be claimed by any one individual. It belongs to the state property, it belongs to the national property, it belongs to the authority of the people's representatives property, where you cannot expect that it could be owned by a single individual. That's why it is called as a national property. Moving on to the third category, that is international property. International property comes under exclusive economic zone on any ocean region. What is exclusive economic zone? The exclusive economic zone is the area after 200 nautic miles from the border area or the coastal line is known as exclusive economic zone, from where any nation cannot take its reserves in the water, though it come under, it's very close to its land boundary. It has to take the international concern of the international bodies like UN. Then only it can take any kind of reserves or any kind of uses or any kind of energy can be taken from that particular regions. Otherwise, it enters into an international conflict into the nation, from one nation into the other nation. So there is a clear-cut division of the properties: individual properties, group property known as national property, or owned only for international benefit of the larger good of the people, that is international properties. So the basing on the ownership of the place, property, resource, everything, also we have the division, that is ownership division. And then status of development. The status of the development was also be considered as very, very key for the resources. The first one is, again, the status of the development is further redivided into three major categories. One is potential, basing on the potential of the thing, whether the potential is properly utilized or not, that is secondary. But how much potential does it have? That is very, very important. For example, you go to Gujarat or you go to Rajasthan. In Gujarat, you have abundant availability of solar energy. That is the potential of the Gujarat. At the same way, you have lot of energy available in the regards to wind. That is available in Rajasthan. That is the potentiality of Rajasthan. Whether these are utilized properly or not, that is secondary. That is immaterial now. When we talk about the potential, what is the potential of that particular land? That is called potential here. Examples we have here, solar is the best potential when it comes to Gujarat. Then moving on to developed, whether the resource has been developed or not, basing on the availability of the stock and the affordable cost of the human beings. If the resource has been taken outside and is used for development, that is called developed. Example we have here, uranium. Uranium bauxite is available for us in the nature. These are available with the raw materials and ores mixed with them. But once they are mixed and they are taken outside, then you can utilize it according to your convenience. That's how you get the uranium and bauxite. And that's the why reason the resources are called developed resources. Then moving on to the third one, stock and resources. Availability of the product in a larger scale is called the stock. Whether the stock you have in large or not, that is a major important category. And then whether the reserves are available for us for the future generations. For example, you take water. Water formula is H2O, hydrogen 2 parts, oxygen 1 part. Together is called hydrogen oxide or water. When we use this water, when it is containing hydrogen and oxygen, here we have the stock of fresh hydrogen and oxygen together available in the form of water on a very large scale. That's why this resource is called stock and reserves. So broadly, the resources are being categorized into 4 major categories. The first one is basis on the origin of the resources. It is been again redivided into biotic and abiotic. The examples of biotic are flora and fauna. The example of abiotic is rocks and metals. When it comes to the basis of exhaustibility, we have non-renewable energy, that is again petrol and coal, whereas the renewable energy coming in the category of solar and wind. When it comes to the third category, that is ownership, individual owners, national owner or the international owner. When it comes to individual, we have private lands. When it comes to national, we have the burial grounds, village, ponds. India's special economic zone, where India has its authority up to 12 nautic miles, means 19.2 kilometers from the Indian border to the water available there, and then to the international boundary where exclusive economic zones are present. So these all are the third category of division. And moving on to the fourth one, status of the development, on which the potential is solar, while the development of uranium and bauxite, where the metals are well developed. And moving on to stocks and reserves, where we have water, the combination of hydrogen and oxygen, it has to be reserved, and we have the large reserves and stocks. That's how the results go on. So this is the rough division of the resources available for us. Basing on their availability, we have again further redivided them. And now let us count the total divisions that can be made for the resources is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So they have 4 major divisions, and again re-subdivided into